At the end of today's gospel passage, Jesus says we must become like little children. Why does he say that? Well, because little children can be formed. It's important that we form children correctly. Children are also very accepting, and sometimes they are very gullible. We have to be careful what we do and what we say, because children then are formed by the adults that are around them. Some of you, I'm sure, had the experience of your parents saying to you, "Don't go with strangers." Why? Because children are gullible. A stranger can come and say, "You want to ride in my car?" Sometimes the child might say, "Okay," jump in the car. Some stranger might say, "I have some candy for you. Come with me." Child will go. Those things are extremely dangerous. Those circumstances are dangerous. They can cause great harm to a child, physically, mentally, and spiritually. We have an obligation to form children correctly. Now, some of you out there might be saying to yourselves, "Well, he's not talking to me today because I already raised my family." I'm talking to every one of us here in church, because all of us have an obligation to the next generation to make sure that our children are being formed properly. Therefore, whether you are a parent, you are a grandparent, great-grandparent, or you are a teacher, or anyone that works with young people, I am speaking to you. Now, I have very grave concerns about what is being taught in our school systems around the country, but even here in Collier County. What is being taught to our children? Children at a very, very young age go to some kind of school, whether it's preschool or kindergarten or all the way up, high school and college. What is being taught in those classrooms? Are parents paying attention to that? What I'm telling you right now is that as a parent, you must pay attention to what is being taught in school. And as a person perhaps that has already raised their children, you have an obligation to know what is being taught in the public school system. It's your tax money, and they're your children too. They are the next generation of Americans, and you also have a responsibility for their immortal souls. Yes, the whole church community is responsible for the souls of the young people coming out in our society. So if you're not vigilant, you are going to be called derelict before Almighty God. He's going to say, "You were not paying attention what I called you to do, to evangelize, to teach, especially the young people." Now, there are three areas that I'm genuinely concerned about. I'm sure that there will be more in the future. But right now, I want to talk to you about what is being taught in our schools regarding human sexuality. Human sexuality is designed by Almighty God. And we have an obligation to teach young people the proper use of their sexual powers. At the moment, there is a very, very large influence of the LGBTQ community influencing what is being taught in our schools. This is the textbooks that are being used, the novels that are being used, and even exercises in creative writing. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. What are you supposed to do about it? Find out what books are being used in the schools. Something else. You know, I've not been a big fan of Zoom, but I suppose we had to use the technology because of this coronavirus. But it has done some good. First of all, it allowed me to be some places where I couldn't be. But also, we're finding out that a lot of parents were watching the classroom instruction that was being given to their children, and some of them were mortified as to what they saw. Some of you, I'm sure, have been reading about the people in Virginia. They couldn't believe what was being taught to their children. And they went to the school board and complained. And a lot of times, the school board or the politicians tried to cancel the parents. You know what's being taught in the schools. Have you asked to see the list of books that are being used? I took a look at some of the books that are being used. I couldn't even name them all. It was unbelievable. One of them was entitled, "It's Perfectly Normal." What I saw was not normal. It was graphic. It was perverted. That is being taught in some of our schools. Anything goes sexually. That is not the revelation of Almighty God. God made us in His image and likeness and expects us to use our human powers of procreation in a proper way. It's not perfectly normal to do whatever feels good. It's abnormal. It's not the new normal. You know, I hear this term so many times. Oh, it's the new normal. What does that mean? Anything that we know to be wrong, all of a sudden it's right? No. It's abnormal. Now look at some of the proposed essays for creative writing, literature. It was pornography. It's telling children to write about sexual matters that they wouldn't tell their mother. What are you encouraging children to do? That's okay. Or what wouldn't you tell your mother? You see how this infiltrates the minds of children. It doesn't inform, it doesn't teach. It deforms their mind, and it is detrimental to their immortal souls. Parents and all of us have an obligation to care for the souls of young people. If we do not, we are derelict. We'll have to answer to Almighty God for that. Find out who's on the school board. You've heard a case just recently, this past week, of a mayor in Ohio. He went before the school board. He said, he looked at what's being presented in the school. He said, it's pornography, and you're violating the law. I want every one of you to resign. Know who's on the school board. Take time to look. A lot of times we pass it right over. Oh, you know, I don't know anything about that. It's your obligation to find out who's on the board and what they stand for. Number one. Number two, I'm sure a lot of you have been hearing about critical race theory that's being taught in the schools. This, again, there was a big blow-up about this in Virginia. Parents shocked as to what was going on in their school system. And parents began to protest this. Critical race theory is at its root. It's communist. It's communist. You might say, well, I didn't know that. Well, it is. It comes from what we call a school of suspicion. A school of suspicion. There was an Italian anarchist, a communist, Antonio Gramsci, G-R-A-M-S-C-I. And he realized that with communism, it was only a matter of class against class. So it was class warfare. The rich against the poor. But he said, it goes much further. For communists to gain power, they have to begin to break down society, to break down what they call the power structures. And so in critical race theory, it pits race against race. That's a great way to fight racism, with a new kind of racism. Tells children, white kids are full of privilege. They have to examine themselves to see where their privileges are, how privileged they are. And black people or Asian people, they're oppressed people. And therefore, white is bad. And therefore, what we have to do now is to correct society, correct the wrongs that have been done. And so we have then a class of victims who think that they deserve something more. And how do you do that? You take it away from those people who have what they perceive to be more. And this is where the whole idea of redistribution comes from. The redistribution of wealth. You pit class against class. And sometimes it goes so far as, you know, sex against sex, men against women. And all of a sudden, what do you have? You now have this breakdown in society. Everybody wanting their piece of the pie, according to their racial standards, according to their victim status. And then who distributes the pie? You got it. The government distributes the pie. And that's how you begin to establish a communist state. Okay. Last one is this. It has to do with patriotism. Patriotism is almost a bad word these days. Almost a bad word these days. Some of us can remember, I do very vividly, when I was in school, we would stand in the schoolyard before the bell rang, and there was an American flag flying over the schoolyard. And we all pledged allegiance to the American flag. That stayed with me all my life. And they inculcated in us that we should be proud to be Americans. You know, we have people today criticizing America, our democracy. We're a democratic republic. Criticizing our democratic republic. You know what Winston Churchill said? He said, democracy is the worst form of government, except for all the others that failed. What about patriotism? Well, today people have decided that America is bad, and therefore how do you change little children's minds about America? New York Times put out a series that's being taught in some of our schools, the 1619 Project. Have you heard about the 1619 Project? They now teach that the United States of America began in 1619 when 20 slaves came from Africa to Virginia. That America was founded as a racist nation. And then they go so far as to say that the American Revolution was fought to establish slavery in America. It is a lie. Everything the 1619 Project says is a lie. And historians, both right-wing, left-wing, center-wing, say there is no truth to those lies, the 1619 Project. And what do we have now? We have young people being trained to thinking, what? That America is a racist country, a bad country, an evil country. And then patriotism begins to go out the window. The idea is that America is no longer an exceptional nation. Why? Because what they are moving toward. And you know, I used to think maybe this was far out, maybe a conspiracy theory. but I'm coming to believe that it's true. I think that this is moving toward the New World Order. Because the 1619 Project does exactly what the New World Order wants to do. It's this. There is no truth anymore. The only truth is what we want to be true, and what's true is what helps us to achieve our goal. That's the New World Order. That is what is being taught in the schools. And so today, I'm going to challenge you. Number one, know what the children are being taught in the schools. I don't care if you have kids in school or not. You find out what's being taught in the schools. Number two, make sure that you know who's on the school board and that you ask them the right questions when they are running for office. Number three, make sure that you are taking your responsibility as parents, grandparents, as American citizens, as Christians, seriously. Because it's not only the souls of the children that are endangered, but it's yours too. God love you. You are very kind people. Keep me, please, in your prayers.